Hello people and welcome to this podcast. I am very happy to tell you that we have a very special guest. He is one of the best songwriters, composers, producers and musicians of all times. We are talking about Tilo Wolf. He is the leader and the master brain of Lacrimosa, one of the biggest gothic metal bands of all times, and they are coming to play their first show of the tour here in Argentina, and they're going to play their new album, Lament. So, Tilo, welcome, and thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being here and for sharing this little space with us.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Please tell me, how do you feel right now, looking back to the past, to the previous tours, of course, and this new album, Lament, which is the third part of a trilogy. How does it feel to represent this album live, not only here, but also in the rest of the world?
Well, of course, it's always, on one hand, beautiful to come on tour with a new album. On the other hand, it's also sometimes a bit difficult or sad because playing the new album takes a lot of time, of course, and we have so many songs that I also love to play. I mean, I always want to play also older songs and reflect the history of Lacrimosa. So to choose the songs were pretty difficult. Plus, I was so, let's say, well, I wrote a new song after Lament came out, and I wanna, of course, bring it on stage. It will be a premiere playing this new song, as well as it will be a premiere to play Lament in Argentina. So that's the start of the tour, and you're gonna have the new songs of Lament. Of course, not the entire album, but we play a lot. And you're gonna hear the very new song, which nobody ever heard before.
Well, you know, I saw the announcement when you did it in Brazil, the announcement of the new song, of course. Is this song going to be part of some kind of new project or album or something like that? Can you tell us something about that?
Right now I have two thoughts about it. I didn't choose yet which direction I will follow.
As I said before, this is the third part of a trilogy that began back in 2017 with Testimonium, and then we have Leidenschaft in 2021, and then we have this third album, Lament. Like, what inspired you to conclude this narrative arc with Lament?
Well, it's always like this that I actually don't plan things. When I started with, for example, Testimonium, I didn't think of that it's going to be a trilogic album content, and that I will continue after this album, after Testimonium. It's always, you know, when I compose, music kind of speaks to me. I feel it. It's like, you know, I mean, we humans, we have a lot of senses which we lost. Actually, we would be able to live out in the nature and could survive, but not nowadays anymore, because we lost all our not all, but many of our senses. For example, when people are sick, they can feel what kind of food would be good for them if they just listen to themselves. And that's a bit the same like with music, writing poems, writing lyrics, writing the music. If you are in close contact with yourself, and if you understand the language of your inner side, then you are in a kind of conversation, and you feel it, and that's always what happens when I compose. I somehow feel, okay, now I have to do this. Now that's, for example, after Testimonium, I felt that's not over yet. And when I concluded, actually, Memoria, when I wrote this, I knew that's it. That's the final part. Now the story found its end. So I can't explain it by I can't explain it by a kind of a storyboard or anything. It just kind of feel it. And that's also the reason why I said now with a new song, I have two thoughts in my mind, but I didn't make any plans. I will find out when I'm on stage and we play the song. I will find out. The song will talk to me.
You know, this album has been described as a very introspective one and a very personal one. And I want to ask you, like, how would you describe this album? Like, how do your personal experiences influence the themes explored in Lament?
Well, it's always, everything I write is kind of a mirror of my soul and of what I go through. So there can be sometimes even small things, like whatever, conversation with somebody that kind of touches. But of course, mainly it's the big things in life. And as this whole topic of the three albums is about death of people that are important, including my own parents. So this, of course, influences a lot. And through trying to deal with all the things that happen in life, they're also coming like you open new doors and you suddenly find yourself in new rooms that you didn't even know that they're existing. And this is sometimes beautiful, sometimes painful, sometimes it's just a adventure. So and therefore also Lament, like all the Lacrimosa albums, they're never like only one. Like if you listen from the album from the beginning to the end, it's not always exactly the same tune, the same emotion. Sometimes it goes a bit in that direction, sometimes in that, because life is like this. You know it yourself probably. You have a great time with great people, and then you hear horrible news that affect your life or somebody dear to you, and the wonderful time you just had turns into something really bad and dark. And so it's always a up and down. And since we are not able at all, not at all, to see into the future, mostly we make ourselves so many thoughts about what could happen and what could have been or what could be. And then actually mostly 99% of what you fear is not going to take place, but something else is going to take place. So therefore, every single moment is an adventure, and I try to live life as an adventure also when there are moments which don't cheer myself up, but it's kind of part of this time. Take, for example, the pandemic. Horrible time. But it was no use to sit around and to say, it's a horrible time. It's a horrible time. It's such a horrible time. I mean, this doesn't make it better. And in this time, we learned also that we are totally incapable of anything, because governments and everybody was telling us what to do, and suddenly there was no freedom in the world anymore. So no need and no use to complain, because we couldn't change anything. We just could take the situation and make the best for ourselves and our dear ones out of it. And I think when we take life like this and also transform it into art, then everything brings us something back, and you have this beautiful end product of beautiful art.
Something that I really appreciate about you and this band is that you can do whatever you want to do, no matter what. And that's something very important today, because that freedom, it's something that is very valuable today, because we live in a world where there's no freedom at all. So I'm very happy to hear that you have that kind of freedom to explore and to do whatever you want to do, and to play the music that you love, and to write whatever is in your mind and in your heart and your spirit. So I'm really happy to see that you are a free soul. This album has been receiving so many positive reviews, but how do you feel about this reception? Like, how's been the reception so far from your perspective?
I'm totally flattered and happy because, you know, after so many years doing music, it could happen that you write music that nobody likes anymore, because the point is I never make any kind of research. I compose in my little studio, firstly for myself, and then I look upon the songs, and then I decide if I'm gonna release it or not. But there's no producer, there's no record company, there's no management telling me like, this is a good song, you need to compose more in that direction, the people want to listen to that. So when I release something, it's 100% of what I want to do. And if the people then say, oh, I like it, then it makes me very, very happy. I can't imagine, I really, really can't imagine all those musicians who do music, what their managers and producers tell them to do. I mean, when then people come up to them and say, oh, it's such a great album. I mean, they don't even like it themselves. So it must be horrible. So therefore, I'm so happy when people like my music, because that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to share. And I think the people also feel it. I mean, just right now, I was on the festival in Brazil the other days. I mean, that was a metal festival, but still in our audience, there were people crying that on a metal festival. I mean, this is really something special and beautiful, and I'm really thankful for that.
You know, there's something that I really want to know, because there are so many bands coming to Argentina. They are coming to play their shows, and of course that we are really passionate, and they are always saying right there that we are the best crowd in the entire world. And I don't know, like, we always try to be closer to the artist and to get our thing signed. And of course they try to say of course, and they say okay, let's do that, and let's take a photo and let's sign those things. But then they say like, I'm not doing this anymore, because they don't have any respect. And I know that of course for people like you, it's something very uncomfortable, so to speak. But I really want to know if this is something that bothers you or not.
Well, I mean, I do this now since many, many years. I mean, we came to Latin America in 1998 the first time. There, of course, I was pretty surprised about the enthusiasm of the people, how they were reacting. And we discovered in Mexico, in Chile, also in Argentina, really crazy things, of course. But as I said, I mean, we are coming to Latin America since so many years, so we know sort of what to expect. And somehow I love this freedom of emotions, I would say, I would call it, because you guys are not afraid of showing your emotions. This is what I sometimes miss in Europe. And this is maybe also a reason why Lacrimosa is so beloved in Latin America, because the people feel that also in my music, that I'm a very emotional person, just like you guys are. And this is what I sometimes miss in Europe. People are, of course, polite, mostly, but sometimes too polite. And you know, there is a border. They are polite and keep back their feelings. They hold on tight, and suddenly all the strings are cracking, and then it comes with such a huge power, which you don't expect. And when people like in Latin America are all the time are very intense and emotional, then there's no accident happen in that form that suddenly you cross the border and you go too far because you are always on the same path. Of course, I don't. Of course, there are crazy people everywhere. But so far, we really had it wonderful, and I think the audiences also, and especially also in Argentina, they understand that it's about emotions, about showing emotions, about, of course, coming together, being a bit crazy maybe. But we had so many situations, for example, in front of the hotels where the people wanted autographs and pictures and everything. And when we said now, okay, that's things are done and we can't come out anymore, people respected it. So this is what I mean. This is really wonderful, and they don't cross the border. And there are other countries, I don't say any names, where things happen which are not good at anymore. Then
I have to say that I think that you are a very brave soul, because you founded Hall of Sermon in the early days of Lacrimosa. Like, what motivated you to take such a bold step instead of signing with an established label?
Well, there are two moments I want to point out. The first moment was when I had my first album ready, and I sent it to several record companies. And the first record company where I actually wanted to sign, it doesn't exist anymore nowadays, but they sent me back like, yes, great, it's really cool, and we love your stuff, but you need to take off this, you need to change that, and we decide about the cover, and we have to talk about the name Lacrimosa again. And I thought, like, what? I mean, I came to you with this music, and now you're telling me that you know everything better. You have no idea why I do this, and no, and this I don't want. And then the idea was born to make an own label. The problem was, it was in the late 1980s. It was 89. And there was no internet. There was no possibility to inform yourself how to do a label. And so it took me a year to find out what the label work is actually, what I need to do to bring out an LP. I wanted to have a vinyl. But, you know, when I once started then to get myself into it and to find things out, I realized there's no turning back anymore. This is now what I want to do, and I don't have the problem anymore with those guys telling me what to do. And then a couple of years later, when Lacrimosa became bigger, there came, of course, many labels and wanted to sign. And I just had the album Inferno and wanted to release it. And there was one of the labels where I really thought, okay, now that's one of the biggest labels, and I'm gonna sign there. And then all my stress is over, and I just need to do music. I don't need to do any label work anymore. And then they told me, listen, Tilo, you're a great musician, but this album, what you are presenting here, you can't bring it out. We won't bring it out because it's much too hard for your Gothic fans. You will lose your fan base, and the metal guys, they won't like it because it's much too dark. So decide, either you do Gothic or you do metal. And we suggest you do Gothic because you have your fan base. And I was like, okay, it was the right decision to have my own label. I won't sign. I keep on working only with my label. And well, Inferno, as you know, has his history nowadays. It would have been the biggest mistake not to release it. So those, you know, I always, when I think like, oh God, I need to still do so much paperwork, and why? And when I talk to friends who are musicians, and they are, you know, I call them, they are in Thailand right now doing holidays. Oh yeah, great, I'm sitting in my office. And whenever those situations, I remember those situations in the beginning, what I just told you, and then know again, okay, it's worth it. I do my label, I sit in the office and work for it, it's worth it.
We have to talk about something very sensitive for many people, but I really need to ask this question. Like, with the rise of digital platforms and streaming, like, how has Hall of Sermon adapted to reach audiences today?
Well, in the beginning, of course, I was no friend of it. I mean, since I'm doing records, since I'm doing albums, long before this all started, long before MP3 were invented, I, of course, was no friend of it because I'm kind of old school. I like the vinyl. I even learned to deal with CDs. Nowadays, I like also CDs. But in the beginning, of course, all the MP3 sharing was horror for me, and also, of course, financially wise, because I lived from the music, and suddenly people didn't buy the albums anymore, which, of course, changed my entire life. Therefore, we made Hall of Stone smaller. We stopped releasing other bands anymore because it was not affordable anymore. I had to many people who were working for Hall of Stone. I had to quit their jobs, and because it was not to be financed anymore. And then of course, then I realized how the situation changed with professional streaming platforms. And that became then interesting again for us when there was no illegal exchanging of MP3s anymore, but those platforms, like nowadays, I mean, of course, it's dominated by Spotify. Before there was iTunes, very important, which still exists, but there are many others also nowadays, but Spotify is, of course, the biggest, which is, I find it very interesting. On one hand, for me personally, as a music lover, because nowadays, of course, I have all my LPs and my CDs, but I can, if you tell me, like, listen to this and that song from this and that band, I can do it right now. I don't need to order the CD or run to a record store. This is wonderful, of course. On the other hand, they pay far too less, of course. I mean, you can't actually make a living out of that anymore. Lacrimosa, thankfully, has a big fan base, and we have concerts and merchandising and everything, so kind of still works. But many of my friends who used to live from music, they have no chance anymore. And many quit. Some are, working daily and then in nighttime trying to do music. It's really tough. So it has its good points. As I said, as a music consumer, it's great, and I'm a music consumer myself. I love it. But as a music producer, it's pretty tough. But it's much better than was in the 0 years when there were illegal file sharing. So I try to make the best out of the actual situation.
How do you balance, like, the business side of running a label with the emotional and artistic aspects of making music?
First of all, it's very important to have different physical spaces where you work. I have my studio. Right now, I'm in my office. My studio is somewhere else. That's not good to combine it. When I'm in my studio, I'm doing music. I don't think about my office. I don't think about Hall of Sermon. I follow this passion and this love for music. When I'm here at the office, I sometimes hate this Tilo from the studio, because I know that not everything I do will be easy to bring to the people, So of course, I do this since many years, and I learned to deal with it, but sometimes it feels a bit schizophrenic, because the musician, he's the boss. He's bringing the music in, but me as a record person sometimes wishes that the musician would be more commercially thinking. But yeah, I really keep it apart.
Now, looking back to the past, like, do you feel that founding Hall of Salmon gave Lacrimosa a kind of longevity that may not have been possible with the traditional label deal?
Absolutely. It would have been absolutely impossible to do, starting with the language. I mean, when I started, nearly no band was singing in German. Yeah, that's what I heard also many times. You need to sing in English. It doesn't work in German. All those things that would have been impossible, or the black and white painted covers. I mean, I still remember when record guys told me, that's so old fashioned. You know, in the 80s they did this, you know, painted covers. Well, I mean, you probably thought about Iron Maiden. Me too, because I love Iron Maiden. So I'm absolutely convinced that Lacrimosa wouldn't be existing anymore if I would have been signing somewhere. Of course, I did some collaborations with other labels, which means I had a finished product and then I made a license to the label. So the license to which I made the label to which I made a license has no right anymore to change anything. It just is kind of reproducing what I give. That's what I did sometimes just because of the lack of money. When I didn't have enough money to manufacture a product, I give the license to another label, which is bigger and has more money. That's a financial trick I do there. And both are happy in the end. But I couldn't sign at another. I mean, even when I remember then when we started to have albums in the charts, then Sony Music came up to me and they wanted to make a deal with us. And there were some talks. And then in the end, we said like, okay, do the distribution. They weren't really happy because they wanted to have Lacrimosa in their catalog. But that was then a compromise. They said, okay, then we do the distribution. And I was happy, of course, because a major label doing the distribution was also nice. But also there we had problems then because when it started with the platforms, the streaming platforms, they, in the beginning, well, we got problems and I realized I had to get it back into my own hands again, and which was a good decision. Now with the new album, we had the biggest chart entry Lacrimosa ever, or the highest chart entry Lacrimosa ever had, and I was in our own distribution. So it was also the right decision.
And now let's get back to Argentina, because you are starting your world tour here in Latin America, in Buenos Aires, and of course that I know that you played in Brazil, and it was a festival, and everything is different. The set list is different, the stage is different, everything is different, the dynamics are different. So what can you tell us about this first show here in Argentina with your Argentinian fans?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, I mean, in Brazil, we only had like 1 hour and 15 minutes. Of course, we're gonna play much longer in Argentina, and yeah, and it's different to have a, you know, it starts already with the preparation, because on a festival you have like, it was now a lot of time. We had half an hour for the changeover. Sometimes you only have like 20 minutes. That's of course a totally different deal than when you have your own show and where you can build up and have time, and also for yourself to come on stage. I mean, when you come on a festival stage, you've never been standing there before. You don't know where things are, and that's different because in Argentina we can do a sound check. We have been on the stage already before the audience comes into the venue. So. And anyway, I mean, I know this venue. We've been playing there a couple of times, before. So, and I'm looking forward to be there back again because it's beautiful, I think. Yeah, it's totally different. And of course, then when you go on stage on your own tour, you know the people which are there, they're paid for to see your band, to see this. On a festival, you never know how many people are there because they, well, whatever, they are there with friends and or maybe don't know what to do right now because there's no other band playing that excites them. So this is, of course, something totally different and makes gives you also as an artist. At least for me, I'm much more humble than because I know the people they took their time and they spent their money to see your band, and that yeah, that makes me thankful and humble. And then of course it's the first show of the tour. It's the first time we played now Avalon and Darkest This Night in Brazil, but all the other songs from new album we didn't play yet. Memoria we are going to play, for example, which is one of my favorites of the new album, and of course Lament we are going to play, the title song. So that all happens in this concert on the 24th of May when we are in Argentina. So I'm really looking forward to this concert. It's going to be for sure one of the most special concerts of this entire tour because it's the first one.
You know, the funny thing about Latin America is that there's a lot of people who don't speak German, but they sing your songs at every concert. They sing every riff. They sing every melody. And that's something that you can take it for granted, you know? That's something very powerful that shows a lot of love and dedication and motivation and many more feelings. But that's something very emotional, and I know that you feel the same.
Yeah, this is really some kind of a miracle. This is amazing. I mean, I don't know from any other band anything comparable. It's really wonderful and beautiful. And through all the years, I always have the feeling like Lacrimosa and Latin America grew together.
Talking about this solo show, your first solo show here, we know that you're going to play this new song for the first time, but do you have any other surprises for us?
The point is, first of all, when you talk about surprises, then there are no surprises anymore. Secondly, each Lacrimosa show is it's unique because we always play. It's not a theater play. It's live music, so it's always unique. And yeah, well, there will be things. Maybe for some it will be surprising. For some, maybe horrible or whatever. But well, wait and see.
And talking about the shows, I have a very important question. And on behalf of every Argentinian fan, have you ever thought of recording a live DVD here in Argentina with our special crowd?
Well, the problem with DVDs is like in Europe, we have so many regulations nowadays when we want to release a DVD. Actually, we shot a DVD, not in Argentina, but we shot a DVD, which I didn't release now because the regulations are so hard and you have to do so many things, which is totally, it's insane. It's really insane. But then the concert in Argentina would need to be the last concert because to record the first concert is never a good idea because yeah, there are things are happening on the first concert.
Given the passionate fan base in Argentina, what message would you like to convey to them during this concert? Or do you have any words for your Argentinian fans?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for the patience to wait so long for us again. I want to thank for the loyalty that the fans have for us. I mean, I know how many people are in Argentina listening to Lacrimosa and how passionate the people are, and I appreciate it so much because I love Argentina very much. I love Buenos Aires especially. I spent so much time there and walked around the cities, and I'm so happy that I'm always invited again. Like now again that I can come back. I have to admit also I eat a lot of steaks. I go to a lot of Argentinian steakhouses in Europe. So it's a pleasure for me to be in Argentina and then to know I'm surrounded by so many wonderful people. So thanks so much for your love, your loyalty, and for inviting us again. And I'm looking so much forward to start the show or start the tour with you in Buenos Aires.
Well, that's it for today. I really want to say thank you for taking the time and for being here. Hopefully, we will meet at the show, and hopefully people will buy that meet and greet, and it will be a very emotional and powerful experience for everybody. So I wish you all the best and all the success with this new album and with this new world tour.
Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to meet you in person.
See you at the show, and thank you again, Tilo. Have a great day.